What's up, everybody? Welcome into the Next Pats podcast. I'm Phil Perry. This is your second Next Pats episode of the week, trying to load you up with as much content for your ear holes as humanly possible. We have a couple more fantastic interviews for you to listen to right now. We're talking to Lawrence Guy, longtime New England Patriot, one of the leaders on that defense, Walter Payton, Man of the Year nominee from the Patriots this year. He was there on the field at the Super Bowl. You probably saw him there if you were watching the broadcast. But he's got a lot to talk with us about, whether it's this Patriots defense and how they recover from the end of last season, how things are going with that Patriots coaching staff on the defensive side, if that's working out for everybody, where you have two sort of de facto co-coordinators, but no coordinators in title. And it's my understanding that in 2022, the titles aren't going to be changing all that much. So if you're hoping to see somebody named defensive coordinator and somebody not, or to see two defensive co-coordinators named, I don't think we're going to see a whole lot of change as far as that stuff goes. But a great conversation with Lawrence Guy, not only on the defense, but specifically on his defensive teammate, a Next Pats focus here on this podcast, Christian Barmore. What's his potential? And Mac Jones as well. What has he seen from Mac Jones? Not only on the field, but behind the scenes as a leader, as a worker. Great insight from one of the most insightful Patriots that we have on the roster right now. He's always so generous with his time. We thank him very much for meeting with us in LA and just heaping upon us all his Lawrence Guy wisdom. So let's get to our conversation with Lawrence Guy right now. And then we've got a little bit of a treat for you. Patriots running back, two-time Super Bowl champion with the Patriots, one-time Super Bowl champion with the Eagles. We don't have to get into that one all that much if you don't want to. It's LeGarrette Blount. We're talking to him for a few minutes as well, so make sure you stick around for that. But let's get to Lawrence Guy right now. All right, very happy to have with us now Patriots defensive lineman Lawrence Guy, also Patriots nominee for the Walter Payton Man of the Year award. Congratulations on that. We know Andrew Whitworth came away with the award last night, but tell us about the NFL awards ceremony last night. Everyone was looking very dapper. It looked like a good time. Did you have fun out there?
It was a great time. The best thing that you could have, it was all Patriots in one little lineup, you know, Max, Slater, and me. But it was, if you don't get to ever experience it, I say go experience that. The show was amazing. The atmosphere was great, but it's seeing all these people getting recognized for what they do in the community, when they're doing on the field, and et cetera. And so you kind of just take it all in. You know, it's like, all right, I'm going to stay a little bit. And then you start seeing people leave a little bit early. And like, hey, why are they leaving early? You realize why they left early. Because once you get out of there, it's crowded. You can't get in there. You're just standing there. So we had to stand there for like 30 minutes just to find out how to get out.
And God forbid you have to get in a car and drive anywhere, because you're probably not moving if that's the situation.
LA traffic was the honors traffic.
We've gotten the full experience this week with the LA traffic. We've been here at the LA Convention Center. We've been at SoFi Stadium. And, you know, like it's just part of the experience. It's like getting a sunburn for me, like walking 5 minutes down the street. Also just part of the experience.
You know, it's like when my wife got here, she came with me. She was like, the palm trees are different. I said, yeah. I said, these are West Coast palm trees. So I was like, this is all I knew growing up. She was like, ours is like a lot larger in Florida. I said, it's just different.
It's a different situation.
I said, wait until you hear the traffic. The traffic, it's just different. Like, don't make sense, but it's just there.
Hopefully you don't hit any traffic going to the Super Bowl. So tell us about how you will be honored as one of many who have been nominated for the Walter Payton Man of the Year award. It'll be a cool chance for you to get recognized.
Yes, it's a blessing, you know. I know we get to go on the field for the game, and we all get recognized. But it's like, you understand what everybody that's nominated has done in the community. They have taken their time, has taken their experiences, and they use their platform to help out another human being and uplift them. And I say it all the time, if you're giving somebody a voice that didn't think they had a voice, and when you're able to uplift them, to give them a voice, everybody can hear them, and they're going to do that to somebody else. And that's what we're all sitting there being recognized for, and giving somebody else a voice for them to be heard.
Well, you've done such great work. You and your family have done such great work for the community in and around the Foxborough area since you've been here. And so really nice for you to have that chance to be recognized, to be doing these things out here in LA this week. So congratulations to you on that. Do you want to ask you a little bit about your football team? How do you feel about your team going into the offseason? We know there'll be changes, right? There are changes every year.
Of course.
But what do you guys need to do going into the 2022 year to take things up a notch, to avoid, the end of the season that you guys had this past year?
Well, let's just give it the best answer I can give it to you. We have to take it day by day. If we don't take it day by day, you're never going to achieve what you want to do. You can't think ahead, you can't think in the past, you're thinking in the now. Like, what can we do now? Like, right now, the best thing that we could do is recover from the season. It was a long 17 games.
They're working you guys now.
They're working. You don't think about 17 until you play 17. And you're like, oh, this is a long season. So you have to recover from that, get your body right. And as you keep going from there, then you start going into the real off-season training and building. But the whole goal is, when you're coming off a season, fix the mistakes that you did last year. As individual players, be better than you was the year before. Be better than you are today than you are tomorrow. You always have to challenge yourself, and I think we have to do that. We have to challenge each other every single day we step in our locker room. We have to have an understanding is there's a goal here. The goal is to get into the playoffs. We went to the playoffs. The goal is not just to be in the playoffs. The goal is to win a playoff game, and we have to continue to try for that accomplishment. But it starts day one in off-season workouts, and it starts in day one in training camp, and then this leads on. Like we said, I break this season up in quarters. We got 4 quarters in the season. You have to take the first 4 games to the second 4 games to the third, and you have to continue to go in. You get that one extra game somehow.
You got to figure out that last one.
The last one's like, what is this? It's an extra game. Like that reset
a little overtime, a little bit overtime after the fourth quarter there. Did you guys feel like you hit a wall late in the year, and do you have to change maybe how you approach the offseason as a team or training camp as a team to make sure that you've got the juice that you need to finish the way you guys want to finish?
I feel like we didn't hit a wall. It's just it didn't plan out the way we wanted to plan out. Everybody has these expectations that we're going to win the game. Everybody has this expectation with this. You can't have that. You have to understand it happens. Like football's football. When you get to the playoffs, you get into it's a play-by-play game. Anybody can win in the playoffs, as we saw. Like, you see who's in the Super Bowl now. Anybody can have a shot. It's just how you approach the game and how you win the game. And the better team is going to win that game. And it's different than in the season. The season, you have a little bit, okay, you might not have been the better team that game, but you got the next week. But there ain't no next week in the playoffs. It's like, so if you're not the best team you are that day, you didn't have a good game, you didn't have a good turnaround, it shows up, and that's it. And that's what we have to understand. We have to build game by game, and you have to play at your top performance in the playoffs. You can't think about what's next or the season of this. You have to continue to play good ball, because if you don't, it's no tomorrow. And that's what pretty much was it. We didn't come out there and play the game we should have played, and it showed up. We're a better team than that, and we all know we're a better team than that, but it didn't show. So we got to live with that. We got to move on.
One story that we've been tracking, I guess, a little bit this offseason, in part because Gerard Mayo has had some head coaching interviews, and people are looking at him and looking at the defensive coaching staff overall and saying, well, whose role is what? Coach by coach. Who's the defensive coordinator? We know Steve's calling the plays, and we know those responsibilities get divvied up. But you also don't have a defensive coordinator in title, which is something that the team has had in the past. Brian Flores, good example of that, 2018.
Correct.
Is it important, Lawrence, that you guys as a defense have someone on the staff who has that title so that you have a voice? We know it starts with Bill's voice. That's the leading voice. But is it important to have somebody with that title going into next year?
Well, we had it before, like you said, Brian Flores, how he did it. I don't think, what is a title? It's a name. That name doesn't do anything. As we find out years and years, because you're a coordinator, because you have that name behind your hashtag on your name, does that make you a better coach than somebody else? It doesn't. What it is we have a group of great coaches there that are striving to push the best out of us, and that's all that matters. Coordinator name, DB's coach, all of that's just something you put on the bottom of your resume for our team. It really doesn't concern us if they name a coordinator or we continue to go where we're going, because we're getting good coaching out of all that. We just got to everybody has their role, and we understand their role. We continue to build from that, and we have that challenge as players to do the same thing. As everybody says, we got a lot of people, what's the next man up? everybody could be a starter, and we have a lot of good depth on our team. And I think that's what we strive for. Not about if you're a starter, if you're not a starter. When you get on the field, you play like a starter. It's the same thing as coaching. Coordinator, not coordinator. When you go up there, you got everybody's attention, and we're going to continue to listen and learn from that.
Lines of communication, though, on that side of the ball, you feel like are where they need to be.
Yeah, like I said, we got to be one as a family.
I want to ask you about a couple of young players, because this podcast that we do, Lawrence,
Right.
is called the Next Pats Podcast. We like focusing on the draft and the offseason when it's this time of year, but we also like focusing on young players. And we just had a chance to talk to a young player who's already in a leadership role on your team as Mac Jones.
Okay.
How do you see him going into year two? Has he already, in your opinion, taken the reins as being one of the leaders on this team, even though he's obviously a young player?
Of course, he came in with that leadership. But you saw in the season, you see it in the locker room, he's a great person. You know, it starts there. He's a great person outside of football, and he's building that brotherhood. And that's what you want to see in a young player, someone that's building that brotherhood, and that can take all those burdens on his back. And that's what he's doing. When we're up high, we're good. When we're down low, he's still there. And that's what you want to see in a young player. He got a lot of years ahead of him, too. And we're going to see him continue to play and get better and better. And I feel like he's challenging himself to get better every single day. So you should be excited to see him play next year. Excited for training camp to see what happens.
We heard some very, very effective trash talk, I would say, from Mac Jones during the Pro Bowl. He was mic'd up during the Pro Bowl, so we saw him getting after Darius Slay a little bit. We saw him get after Devin White a little bit. Is that something that you guys saw on a regular basis? Practice field, training camp, that competitive side of Mac? Because, you know, even when we just talked to him here and we're out of season, it's a pretty relaxed format. Right. He has the Patriots party lines down cold. It's very impressive. The delivery is something that I'm sure Bill Belichick really appreciates. But do you guys get to see that competitive, that edgy Mac Jones?
You guys are at practice, right?
We are, but not long enough to really get it. The one time I can remember, there were a couple of occasions during training camp, I will say. Okay. We saw him and Judon get into it during competitive practice periods. I've seen him, you know, have some words with offensive guys where it looks like there was maybe a mistake or a miscommunication situation.
Do you remember what he was saying?
Well, no, because we aren't really able to hear it. And so that's what we need from you right now. We need the behind the scenes.
I feel for you guys right now.
It's that good, huh?
I feel for you.
Well, give us a little example.
I can't because you're not on the field.
Well, it's going to be hard for me to get on the field here, Lawrence. You're talking to a guy who's not very athletic in his mid-30s. I don't think I'm going to be able to get on the field for you guys anytime soon. Start training?
Start training. What is the movie about the Philadelphia player? What's that called? With Marky Mark.
Invincible. Yeah.
You never know. You might have a shot.
All right, I'll start sprinting today. But you got to tell us. So that's the real Mac Jones, though, the guy we heard in the Pro Bowl.
I don't know.
This is not proprietary information here, Lawrence. You can share. It's just you and I talking.
What did he tell you?
Well, he actually told me his dad taught him how to trash talk. So he is open to the fact that he does trash talk.
Right.
I just want to know, I want an example of the best thing you've ever heard from him.
Oh, I can't share that with you. If I share that with you, then you get the inside scoop. Right?
Yeah, that's the whole reason we're here.
He should have told you his best talk.
All right, I'll push on the trash talk another time. Can I ask you about one more young player who you know really well? Christian Barmore. How special can he be?
Really good. Very impressive player. Really good a human being. Has a good head on his shoulders. He's going to continue to grow. That's the best thing about it is when you see these young guys come in, you want to see their growth. And we're going to have to see him continue to grow and grow and grow. Just ran into him a couple of seconds ago.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, oh, what's going on? Still see you wearing these little shirts. I was like, get a little bigger shirt, man. He was like, what do you mean? I said, you need a bigger shirt on. But I like him as a player. We talk all the time. I wouldn't say he's my locker mate, but he's about 2-3 lockers down. But I like how he asks us questions and understands his role on the team, understands what he's doing. And I feel like as he continues going to year two, he continues this path that he's on. He's going to be a real good player in the future. He has to continue to keep going and going. And you see it. You see it on the field. You're going to see it in the thing. We just got to continue to go as a unit, and we grow. And as we grow, you're going to see his growth sprout.
All right, Lawrence Guy, thank you so much for your insight on some of your teammates, on where this team is at, and congratulations again on the Walter Payton Man of the Year Award nomination. Enjoy the rest of the festivities here in Los Angeles, my friend.
Thank you so much.
All right, there's our guy, Lawrence Guy. Appreciate him. Now, as promised, here is LeGarrette Blount. Very happy to have with us on the Next Pats podcast, Patriots legend, also in a little bit of a way, kind of a Patriots killer. Beat him in a Super Bowl, too. It's LeGarrette Blount. LeGarrette, thanks for being with us, man.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you guys for having me on.
So we were just talking about a young back in New England who reminds a lot of people of you, and it's Ramondre Stevenson. What have you seen from him when you've watched him? And can that style work for teams across the league? We're seeing big backs have all kinds of success. You kind of paved the way for some of these guys. What do you think of Stevenson, though?
Man, I like Stevenson. I think he's a nice, solid running back. I think he runs hard. I think he's pretty tough to bring down, man. He gets a lot of yards after contact. I think he's one of those backs that the more you feed him the ball, the better he gets over the course of the game. I think that he should get a lot more carries. I also like Damian Harris. I like both of those guys, so they're a pretty good 1-2 punch. I wouldn't say they me and Dion, but they're a pretty good 1-2 punch, man. You know, and I like those guys. I like both of them.
A little bit different version of the Thunder and Lightning. It's like Thunder and Thunder right now with the Patriots. You get two heavy hitting kind of backs there. We want to mention LG's Feel Good. Make sure you're checking out LG's Feel Good on social media, lgsfeelgood.com, LeGarrette's CBD company. If you're dealing with pain, he's got you covered. Check it out, lgsfeelgood.com. I want to ask you about your old Patriots running backs coach, Ivan Fears. Do you have a good Ivan Fears story for us? Because it sounds as though, I don't think there's anything official yet, but it sounds as though he's going to be retiring. And he is a legendary figure in New England. But what was your relationship like with him? And do you have any good Ivan Fears stories for us?
Man. My relationship with Ivan is good, man. I love Ivan, man. We love each other, man. Ivan is a good dude. He's taught me so much over the course of my career and my time in New England. I would say one thing about Ivan, man. He's a great teacher. He's a great coach, man. He's a great leader. But there's been a couple times where me and my dog been in a meeting room, man, and we'll look over to ask him a question, and man, I've catching some Z's, counting some sheep, handful of times, my dog is over there catching the Z's. Man, that's one of the things that I love the most and admire the most about him. One of the things I remember the most is, catching him taking a nap in these meetings and stuff. Because I know, man, he old, so you got to catch him, 10, 15-minute nap because he knows everything that we're teaching already. He knows everything that there is to learn already. So, man, yeah, he's, one thing I'm going to always remember about Ive, man, is just, catching him dozing off or catching him nodding off in the meeting room. I think we might have even snuck out on him one time while he was asleep. We might have snuck out the meeting early while he was sleeping, just left him in there sleeping. So, that's, more power to him, man. I wish him the best, man. I hope I get to see him again before he turn in the rain. So
the whole coaching staff is turning over in some different respects. The last question I want to ask you is about Bill, because I know you had a great relationship with Bill while you were there in New England. He obviously had a ton of respect for you. How much longer do you think Bill can do it?
Man, I think Bill is locked in, and he's going to be locked into it for as long as he can, as long as he needs to be, to find someone that he's comfortable with taking over the reins. You know what I'm saying? I know he's not the person to hire the next head coach, but I know they're definitely going to involve him in that process. They would be dumb not to. But I think he's going to be going for a while, and at least until he proves that he don't need 12.
LeGarrette Blount, thanks so much for being with us on Next Pats. A lot of our listeners have a lot of great memories of you in New England, so we really appreciate the time.
I appreciate you guys, man. Thanks a lot.
All right, LeGarrette Blount. Bill Belichick should have a hand in choosing his successor. Ivan Fears, some fun memories there. Who hasn't caught a Z or two in their lives during a meeting? I mean, it happens. It happens. But one of the most lovable figures in Patriots history, Ivan Fears, long time assistant. And we haven't seen yet if he officially has decided to retire before the 2022 season here. But if he does, there's another void that the Patriots have to fill. Vinny Cincinnati is a young coach who assisted Fears with the running backs last year. I would assume that if Fears ends up going, Cincinnati slides right in right there. Troy Brown has had some experience working with those guys as well. So we'll see how it all pans out at the end of the day. But again, that might be something, as we mentioned on our last episode earlier this week, roles for the coaching staff might be something that we delve a little bit deeper into next week. Also next week, the NFL Scouting Combine. Huge event for us here on Next Pats, as our loyal listeners well know. We will be in Indy. I'll be there. John the Skull Crusher Henry will be there to be gathering as much podcasting content as we can. We'll be talking to players, hopefully. We'll be talking to coaches and GMs. We'll be talking to other media members. We'll be talking to draft analysts. We'll be diving in big time to what's going down at the combine. Once we get some of these numbers, heights, weights, 40 times, vertical jumps, broad jumps, all this stuff. It matters. It does. The tape matters most. How good you are when you're actually on the football field, how well you play the game matters most. But this stuff matters too. And if you study the Patriots and you study what they've drafted, especially you study what they've drafted highly, there are certain metrics that they want their guys to hit. That has tended to be the case. And so once we have all these numbers, we gather them together in Indy, we come back, we're able to put together things like our prototypical Patriots list, have some fun with some mock drafts, dig down a little bit deeper on the guys that look like true Patriots fits. So we get beyond the guys that we like, the guys that we've spoken with scouts and coaches about in terms of their potential and how they might fit here in New England. But we're able to really kind of put all the pieces together after the combine. We still have pro days trickling in here and there, but the combine is huge. We're also going to have, just so you know, we're going to have sort of a combine specific podcast for you before the combine actually begins. So early next week, we'll be looking a little bit ahead to the combine, some performers we're hoping to see, some Patriots fits that we're hoping to find out more about, that we're hoping to talk to at the podium when they're made available to the media. We're also going to have our buddy Rhett Lewis, NFL Network, on with us to tell us all about the Shrine Bowl. So we're going to get more Senior Bowl information as we get deeper into the offseason, but we're going to get some Shrine Bowl information too, because Rhett was there all week with Bucky Brooks from NFL Network. They covered that thing like nobody else. And so if you want in-depth information on some of these prospects, especially guys that look like Patriots, Rhett Lewis spent a lot of time in Boston, worked for Channel 7 here. Phenomenal human. Love his work on NFL Network. I'm sure you're all very familiar with it because the guy is everywhere. He's on podcasts, he's on TV, he's calling games, he's doing it all. He understands what we're looking for when we have conversations about some of these off-season collegiate showcase events, right? We're covering the Patriots. You guys are listening because you're interested in what the Patriots want, who they may be drafting. Rhett gets it, and he's hitting us with a bunch of names. So we're going to be talking to him early next week, and we'll look ahead to what we're hoping to see at the combine, and then we will have a ton more for you from the combine itself. So just a little bit of a plan for you, just laying things out for you so you can schedule these things ahead. All right. We know that you like to know when things are coming. So we're trying to do you that solid. All right. Thank you so much for doing us a solid and listening to this podcast. We can't tell you how much we appreciate it. Please rate, comment, review, subscribe. If you're leaving a review, leave us a little mock draft. Leave us a who you like at number 21 overall. Leave us a 7-mound mock if you want. Who cares? I mean, I do. Biggest draft nerd you'll find. And so if we get some of those, maybe we can go through some of them on the pod as we progress through the offseason. All right. So do that for us. We'll continue to hit you with podcasts starting early next week. We'll talk to you then.